Oh, do you have a wine opener? Or wine key? Just trying to help you out.
Welcome back to another episode of Whiskey and Wine, where we try to make the world of whiskey and wine more approachable for more people. I'm Sam.
I'm Heather.
She's finally back, guys.
I've been busy.
I
don't even know what I've been doing. I've been working.
She's a very busy gal.
I get that overtime.
All right. So today we are going to be talking about, I guess, a fun wine topic, which we've been wanting to talk about. And I think we've hinted at before, but we haven't done too deep into it. So
now we're doing it.
I'll let you explain that while I pour these up.
So in front of us, we have a red and a rosé. You might be like, oh, okay, what's so interesting about that? And the interesting part is that the red and the rosé are made from the same grape. So when I first started, very early in my journey of wine, I assumed there were rosé grapes and there were red grapes and there were white grapes, and the specific grapes made the specific wines. And that's wrong. So if you thought that too, it's okay. We all start somewhere. The rosé is really more so about contact time of a red grape. So a red wine will have, the whole grape in there, and the rosé will have the grape skins for a certain amount of time. I don't know how long for this one, what the difference is in the time, but the other interesting fact is that it is a varietal you may not have heard much about, called Petite Pearl. This is from Parallel 44 or Door 44 in Wisconsin. I just realized this one, I'm always so confused. Some of their stuff says Parallel and some of it says Door.
If it says Door, that's just their branding for it, I think. 'Cause it's the red door, pink door, stuff like that. But otherwise, Parallel 44 is the actual company, I
winery.
believe. Okay.
And, in case if you're not sure, Wisconsin's kind of a rough climate to grow stuff in. For half of the year, it's freezing. And then for a couple months in the summer, it's so hot, you don't know what to do with yourself. So grapes generally don't do well with that kind of temperature extreme, those overall limited sun days. And I guess sun days isn't day of the week, but also days exposed to the sun light, because, they go through part of the year without much sunlight. So Petite Pearl is a varietal that, was made to grow in colder weather climates.
And it works very well. So this is not something you're going to commonly see. I don't recall how many hectares, whatever it is, that they have for this specific grape. It is very limited. But yeah, like Heather said, what we wanted to talk about was just the difference in the winemaking process between a rosé and a red wine. And this is a really fun comparison. I will say these are going to be a little bit more different than normal, because this is going to be a 2023. This is a 2022 vintage. So year apart, but we're still going to get some of the same flavor notes between the two, and you're going to see some of the flavors that are going to be in the skin, and that's what we're going to get, or in the skin, and basically you're only going to get from a long contact time, versus some that are just going to be found in the juice of the grape as well. So we're going to dive into that and kind of pick this apart a little bit.
Yeah. I think something too about the year difference that initially stands out to me is I feel like both of these, both the red and the rosé, are one that lean more on the acidic side. So I'm actually not surprised that they waited to release, like this Petite Pearl was just now in their release, this month. So it's not like this is a bottle we bought last year and held down till now. This is one that the winery has intentionally continued to let age in the bottle and now decided to release it. So I think as a red wine, sometimes if you start more acidic, you do need a little bit more time to just kind of mellow out that acidity. Whereas that acid in a rosé is something that you almost kind of look for in some situations.
Yeah.
So it's kind of you're able to play different ways, I guess.
So looking at these colors real quick.
Oh, yes. In canvas. Science.
Bam. So that red is very this deep purple, kind of inky color almost.
Mhm.
It does have, I'll get a little swirl so you guys can see a little bit through that. It's got a little bit of this garnet feel to it, but inky purple. And then this is almost like a salmon.
It's
Pink.
like yeah, there's an orangey hue to it. So yeah, the colors initially. I also for a rosé, rosés have such a wide spectrum of color. Like there's some people who are like, this is a rosé. I'm like, this looks like a white wine.
We just had a wine like that. I don't remember where it was from.
Yeah.
But
It was so light that it so again, in terms of a rosé, this is a more bold color, but I have also seen darker rosés.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So let's get into this. On the nose, what are you getting here? Also, before anyone says anything in the comments or anything like that, we know these are not technical red wine glasses. We had a couple of glasses decide to leave us. So if you want to help us out, I'd appreciate getting some new glasses.
If you have any,
Yes.
you know.
Not of glasses. Unless you want to send us new glasses. That'd be cool. This is kind of confusing me a little bit. It definitely smells acidic.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like...
I feel like there's still like a deeper undertone.
Yeah.
Oh, another comment I'd like to share. This particular rosé, I prefer how it tastes room temperature instead of chilled, because I think you get more of the flavors with it. So we are tasting both at the same temperature, well as traditionally a rosé can be served chilled.
I get a lot of strawberry out of this one, but not like a fresh strawberry, kind of like a squished up strawberry.
Yeah. I think it's like, it smells like you're strawberry picking, you know?
Yes.
I feel like
that
there's
green grass kind of smell in the background.
Yeah, I feel like I'm actively picking. So I don't know if it's not that's not a fresh strawberry. I think it's just like you haven't cut into the strawberry. You know, it's still on the vines, still out there.
I feel like when you taste it though, you get a lot of strawberry, red apple, a little bit of pear almost.
Mm-hmm. And then the acidity is kind of through the whole palate, but really peaks at the end.
Yeah. The finish is a lot of acid, but not enough that like makes your mouth water, but just like a nice well-rounded amount.
It is a well-rounded acid. There's an underlying note of like something more earthy.
There's some vegetable
I don't know if it's
or
herbs
herby. I think it's something
or...
herby. I can't. Yeah. I'm really bad when it comes to the herb notes.
But there's something that is kind of like a deeper earthy note of some kind. So
yeah, this smells like a wet garden.
Again, this is kind of a non-biased thing, but this has always been one of my favorite rosés. I've been pretty, I think, open that like I haven't always leaned towards the super sweet options in terms of wine. So this rosé is, you know, in terms of sweetness, I feel like it's kind of more of like a semi-dry.
I would put this at about a 2 for sweetness. Yeah, 2 out of 5, but around the 2. It's not that sweet, and because of the higher acidity, it does kind of dry your mouth out a little bit. Tannins are pretty low in it, but you do get a little bit of that kind of mouthfeel to it.
So, and this was, I think it just happened to be one of the rosés I had that had both like these really beautiful and like yet bold flavors for a rosé, and it, you know, felt balanced, and it wasn't just like this sugary sweet rosé.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can figure out what that vegetable, like vegginess to it is, but yeah, it literally smells like you are strawberry picking like after it rained.
Yes.
But
we're very specific about when to pick the strawberries. Okay, moving on to the red.
So again, this is the same grape, but we actually let the skin contact for the entire fermentation period so that you can actually get this.
And again, it is a later year. Oh, okay, fun fact. I didn't know this. I'm just reading it now on the label. It is the same alcohol.
Oh, same ABV.
Yeah, they are both 11.8%.
Interesting.
So that is another consistency, I guess, between the two.
So here, right off the bat, I did get that stewed strawberry note. So
I feel like it's almost flipped. Like the herby earthiness is stronger,
yeah.
and then the strawberry is mellowed.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. It's really nice. It does give, just on the nose, it gives you that kind of idea, I guess, of almost leaning towards a Barbera or not really a Pinot, more of a Barbera. So it's like medium light bodied, but it still has kind of a heavier nose to it.
I think in some ways it reminds me of like a bolder Pinot.
Yeah.
You know, like some Pinots drink lighter and some drink darker, bolder. This one would be on the bolder side of a Pinot.
So the amount of acid I get out of this is almost,
It's a bit much for a
yeah,
red wine.
it's kind of elevated compared to the rosé. So that's something that basically came in a lot heavier by allowing that skin contact time and just allowing it to mature with everything in it. Also, the tannins that are in it are a lot more present. So it actually leaves your mouth with that feeling of just like kind of watering, but at the same time, it's watering because of the tannins, but it's also watering because of the acid.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting.
I think, like, as a red wine, this one I think is better paired with some kind of meal because it is so acidic. Like, I want something that's kind of creamy or a cheese to help cut the acid. In a sense, I don't know. It's just very unique for a red wine to kind of. I almost wonder. I'd be curious to see what it would taste like if we age it even longer.
That would be interesting.
You know,
I will say there is a little bit of a kind of wet smoked leather. I know it sounds really weird, but it's like you left a piece of leather outside by the fire and it got rained on.
Yeah.
It's kind of the idea I'm getting from this. But it's very interesting to kind of see the comparison between just making a rosé and then making the full red out of it. Same grape, just a different process for how you actually want it to make the wine. Granted, you can see how light this is. If they wanted to take away the skin contact time, like I said before, you would have a actual white wine technically. I'd be curious to see what that would be like, but I think that would also be a way too much acid.
Yeah, I don't know if it would. I feel like the fruit notes that come through would probably be lost. I mean, obviously you don't really get those in a white wine as much.
Or you just get straight strawberry and you get no acid.
I feel like it would be difficult for it to be balanced as a white wine. Another note that I had, and why I feel like it's kind of exciting to sometimes check out smaller wineries, is that these are both single varietals. So oftentimes, like, larger producers of wine will be doing blends to try to have it be more consistent year to year. And I think it is sometimes exciting to try single varietal options. And again, you know, I love a good blend as much as the next person because it is perfectly made to be well balanced. And, you know, it's more of a kind of like a, how do you say that? Like a nod. It's more of a nod to the winemaker in the master blender in those master blend situations. And again, the quality grapes still obviously matter, but it's the master blender who really brought them together to work versus a single varietal. You know, that there wasn't any blending. You know, it's about, you know, what quality of a growing year was it? How is this wine, you know, develop kind of and stand on its own? So
I will say with
that is something that's exciting to try if you have the opportunity. And again, sometimes single varietals, I feel like you have to be prepared to not always fall in love with it. I love the Petit Pearl.
Yes. The thing about single varietals, especially in, depending on where you're at, whether the US or over in Europe or other places, if you get a single varietal, you have to actually look to see if it's actually single varietal. So a lot of these will say Cabernet Sauvignon, but it's actually Cabernet Sauvignon with like 10% Merlot or 10% Sangiovese or something like that. And then I forget the number off the top of my head. I believe it's 80% in Europe, and then also I think in Washington for some reason. And then the rest of the US is like 70%, where 70% of the wine has to just be that one varietal if you're going to put that label on it. So you might like a wine that's labeled Cabernet Sauvignon, but it's not 100% Cabernet Sauvignon. So keep that in mind when it comes to looking at single varietals. But then also, like Heather said, you might not fall in love with it, but also year to year, you might end up in a situation where you're like, this wine just didn't grow well this year. Like the grapes didn't work, the aging processes did not work, whatever it might be. We've run into that before with some of the wines where it was good one year, and then the next year it's like, all right, that's okay. And then the following year it's like, okay, it's really good again. So keep that in mind. When it comes to making wine choices, it is so much fun to see what the winemakers can do, how long they're going to let this have skin contact time to make this rosé, how long they're really going to keep the fermentation going and allowing everything to happen before they press off the skins and everything. It's a lot of fun. So if you can ever go to a smaller winery where they're going to get nerdy and kind of tell you all about that, definitely do it. It's so much fun to dive into. And if you can do a comparison like this, or even do a red to a white, which I think is what we talked about before, but doing the rosé to the red is a ton of fun. Cheers, guys. Have a good one.